All right, welcome to another episode of BCNDC. I believe this is episode 32. Today's date, what is today? January the 5th? Yeah, I think so. And it's, I don't know, about 9:30 at night. So I'm getting started a little bit earlier than I usually do on these Sunday nights. And, well, as always, this episode is brought to you by Organs Burn Online. That is my friend Brad, and that is his metal radio punk type station. Anyhow, 541-241-6598 is his phone number, and please hit him up. He's also featured something new with local bands that want to advertise what they're going, their play dates, and so on and so forth. So he's creating like a kind of an online magazine for local bands. So if you know of anybody that's in a band that wants to get acknowledged and being a part of that, then also hit him up for that. And just check out his Facebook. There's my first burp. And you'll get all the information you need for him. And please support Brad, because he, like I've said many a time, made this show possible. The technical end, is still working pretty good. Thanks, Brad. And well, let's see. Really what's important to say is the show is really brought to you guys by you. Everyone that's been listening is the reason why I keep doing it. It's kind of odd. I felt I've gotten to a pretty good middle place, maybe the best middle place that I've ever been in my life now. And it was kind of weird because, not that long ago, I was like, I didn't know what to do after it was confirmed who my dad was, how to deal with that, and what I was supposed to think about it, and like, oh shit, like, am I, I don't know. I didn't know how to feel is what I guess it's obvious, right? But the point being is, after I digested it quite a bit, it's oddly, of course, it's not odd, but it's filled that void. That unanswered question is answered. I know who he is. I don't know him yet, and I haven't contacted him. That's something I am working on. It'll get there. I think, I think I'll write him soon. Like I said on the last one, I was probably going to contact him through my wife's messenger. She thought that if I was willing to get his direct phone number or address from my aunt or my grandpa to do that, and I don't know, I'm contemplating one of those. Yeah, of course, he needs to know, and I should let him know what's going on. And we'll see how that goes. I had a few responses from the last show, because obviously when you're talking about suicide, it hits a nerve with people that have ever, felt it on their own, or having people around that have tried it or actually succeeded in doing it. With having those responses, I guess I didn't respond back to everybody, and I will at some point. I apologize, and I have a couple of people that wouldn't mind coming on the show talking about that kind of stuff. I think, because the one person I've known for a very long time, since I was a kid, and they don't want to do the video part, which is totally fine. I don't think they should have to if they don't want to. And, because I don't have the capabilities of blurring the screen. But we'll see how that goes. I talked to them about doing it soon, and I think, they said they'd be up for it. So I'll update you on that when I can, whenever they let me know when's a good time to do it. And speaking of which, my plan to have my first original guest, I contacted her today, and she's in great spirits and is ready to do the show. she's going to look at her calendar and find a time to do it. So we're going to set that up, I don't know, soon, because I finally moved my shit around, so my door opens all the way. So I need to do a cleaning up for the guest to come down, for her to come down, but I'm ready. As far as, let me try to think about some of the other responses that are on my phone, which is recording me. I should have written them down, I guess, but, and I don't need to, I guess, divulge in what all they said, but it made me start thinking, I know I kind of didn't say as much as I wanted to on the last one, and that was because I didn't prepare myself as much as I probably should have. And so on this one, I thought about things a little bit more. And so going back into depression, which leads to suicide and those types of things, I would like to say quite a bit, actually. Number one thing, anyone that's depressed or suicidal, or anyone that knows someone that is, understand that it's a you problem. Yes, things happen to you, and you've been a victim of those circumstances for sure, for no doubt. You experience things you shouldn't have, and but what you have to realize is you have to save yourself. No one can do it for you. You can have a lot of strong people around you. You can have a great support group, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to do it. No one's going to do that shit for you, and nor should they, and nor should you expect them. And if they were to, then it'd be pretty empty. You wouldn't get the same effect out of it, and I don't think it would. You would have to probably maybe go through it again, because maybe the lesson wouldn't be learned if you didn't do it the quote-unquote right way, or the only way, I think. Sometimes I'm saying these things, I'm not sure, I want to say they're from my perspective, but I think when you tend to avoid things, they tend to grow and become more of a problem. Sorry, I was playing with a bug on my desk. But yeah, it's, you do have to understand that it is within your power to do so, though. Nothing's too bad for you to handle. But I think as long as you can decompartmentalize, that helps a lot. A few other things I started thinking about. So, I guess the feelings that a lot of us may get when we're there, or the feelings that people get when they decide to commit suicide, or the feelings they have when they think they want to, or they just feel like their life is worthless. And I think a lot of that, those negative things and the things that we have said, that I have said, and others, I think it's, honestly, we want to be acknowledged, and you want to be loved. You want to be appreciated for what your actual talents are and what your place is in this world. As long as you're not disillusional in what you really can bring to the table, I think that's possible. But the funny thing is either you're with the wrong set of people, or you just simply don't have the guts to ask for it. And I think that's part of it too. I think a lot of us that get depressed kind of at some points want to be, and want someone to ask us what's wrong, instead of saying, hey, can I talk, and can you be my friend. I think we always want to be reached out to, rather than us reaching out when you're the depressed or that mentally ill. I think it's because, like I said in the last one, it makes us feel more weak or more inferior, and less likely to reach out, because you feel like more of a problem, more of a burden. And with that, I would say those burden feelings, you're definitely not a burden. You're a blessing. You really are. I understand the feeling of being a burden, like this idea of like, I shouldn't be here, I wasn't meant to be here, I don't think like any of my friends, they don't think like I do, whatever this, that. I've always felt like a square peg in a round hole type thing. But a lot of that is because it's self-induced, Some of that, sure, in the very beginning, it started out that way, because you didn't understand, or for me, I didn't understand what the fuck was going on half the time. But as I did, then it was a lot of it just me going back to that place because it was a comfortable place to go. I understood it, I knew the emotion. And you get comfortable being in that victim position. And so what I want to say about that, too, about the victim thing, it's very, very important. So for those of us that have been victimized, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that those things happened to you. And hopefully they are in the past and are not continuing to happen if you're listening to this. But if they are in the past, please understand that that's what it is. They are in your past, and that's not to say that you shouldn't deal with them or think about them, but the one thing you should never do is from then on ever, in my opinion, is to play victim. So what I mean by that is, if you're molested, raped, beaten, abused, neglected, all those different things, that does not give you an excuse to fail in life. It just doesn't. Because at the end of the day, no one gives a shit, to be harsh. The community of other damaged people give a shit, and your family gives a shit to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, you still have to do. You still have to go out and be a person and commute and participate. Life is out there waiting for you. You can't just sit in your house all day. It's just not healthy. Getting outside at least once a day, whether it's just gardening or whatever it is. If you have so much social anxiety, build on it. Do the best you can to work on it, and probably see a therapist to get some real skills on that. But saying that the reason why you can't get a job, or the reason why you can't, go and do whatever it is because of what happened to you, it's just bullshit. It just is. Because that's apples and oranges. So what I'm trying to say furthermore is just basically, because bad things happen to you, doesn't give you an excuse to be a fuck up the rest of your life. It just doesn't. And the people that don't know you at all, the strangers in this world, the ones that hire you and fire you and shit, they don't give a fuck about that. They don't care about your problems, because they're your problems, not theirs. Their bottom line is to make money, and if you're a burden, or if you're a problem for them to make money, or whatever that is in that business, then you gotta go. There's a few things I would say that will always help. I said on the last one, and I said just now, getting outside at least once a day is extremely helpful. But some of the other things you can do is hone your skills. And if you feel like you don't have any skills, go develop some. So what do you say? Oh, how do I do that? Well, isn't there always something you always wanted to try that you didn't, or you haven't, or maybe you did once and you kind of just gave it a half-ass effort? Do that. If you ever felt like being a writer, if you ever felt like making pottery, doing some sort of art, being a painter, making music, You ever felt like being an actor, an actress, writing a screenplay? I don't know. Do that. And hone the craft. Don't just half-ass it. Look into how the pros do it. I learned that in motocross. The best way to get good is watch the good guys, and then if they throw out pro tips, or if you just see how they do things, copy that. Do the best you can. There's something that I just hit on that it kind of made me think. The other night I was talking to someone at our house. We were having a fire, and he and I were talking about certain things, skills, and basically how to hone in on what your skills are. So this ties into that by mimicking others that do things. So I think I said this in the past with my skill to steal was apparent when I was a kid, and developed to where I spent some time in a clinker. Pretty good times. Not really being a smart ass, it sucked, but it changed my mode of thinking. But at the same time, I couldn't get rid of that skill set, so the best thing I could figure to do was to use it for good. And so I started watching people, how they did things in life in general, and going, I like how you did that. That seemed to work for you, or I just liked how it looked. And I would take that, in a sense, steal. But really what I was doing was learning how to be the best person I could be, little by little. And then moreover, when I was at work, I did the same thing. So if one guy did a certain thing that I liked, I would take that and hone it and make it my own. And for each guy I've always worked with, I've taken something from each one of them and made it into my own. And it's given me a pretty good skill set. And so that's what I would say to anyone out there is it doesn't come all at once, and it can take time, and you can just take things from certain people that work, or will work for you, and make them your own. And at the end of the day, when you compile all those things, they really are yours. It really is you, because you made this one thing yourself, how you act and how you approach things, out of many, many people and many, many thoughts. And that's pretty smart, in my opinion. Not to give myself credit. I hate doing that. But I think that you can definitely learn from others. Be humble in that. Because before that, I've always thought that I was smarter than other people, and I could always outsmart them somehow, and it was like some sort of game. And the only one who was playing the game was my dumb ass, Excuse me. Coughed again. Let me take a drink. I know. I gotta start drinking soda. It's horrible. It'll kill me. Making a joke on a suicide show. That's funny. Not really. I know some of you are taking it seriously, and it is serious. So I'll try not to take too many opportunities to be silly, because it's not the right time for that. But maybe it is at the same time, because when you're down and out, that's something that always helps, is watching comedies and watching your favorite comedian, or just doing something is fun. That's definitely helpful. And I think a lot of it too, we know what we could do for ourselves that would be fun, and a lot of times we avoid it because we like feeling like shit. That's the thing about playing victim, and wanting someone to feel sorry for you, and wanting someone to ask you, like, what's wrong? Nothing. No, really, what's wrong? Nothing. Until they really drag it out of you, right? We've all played that game, right? And it's annoying, and you shouldn't do it. If someone ever asks you what's wrong and there's something wrong, you should say, hey, thanks for asking. Do you mind? Do you have a minute for me to, bleed your ear to tell you really what's wrong? Confide in a friend. Because if a friend asks, then fucking take them up on it. Don't be such an asshole. And burp in the microphone. But don't be such an ass and deny that help. Deny that love that's being presented to you. You know, it's that thing, you're in a fucking mud pit and someone is giving you an open hand and you're slapping it away. Yeah? You know, being a victim? Yeah, someone's reaching out, man. Fucking take that hand. You know, I think sometimes that's a quote-unquote slippery slope. If I can spit it out, slippery slope. When we're feeling bad, because I've done it, and you want to feel, you kind of want to almost feel worse. I don't know why. It's that you get past this like breaking point of feeling like shit to where it kind of feels good in a weird way, and you definitely want someone else to acknowledge it, or I did. And the funny thing is there were times when it wasn't acknowledged, or when I was reaching out or saying, hey, have you ever listened to this song? And it's like a song all about suicide. And someone's like, yeah, man, I really like that song too. And they don't respond. And you're kind of like, I was basically trying to tell you that I'm not feeling so great in my mental, but all right, whatever, that didn't work. So I guess a lot of that is, if you're reaching out, it's very, very hard, but sometimes maybe if you know a person will not judge you and be there for you, you just need to say it. Just say, hey man, I'm not doing well, I need to talk. Whether it's on the phone or can I meet you in person, you know, whatever. But yeah, I know, it's very hard for us to reach out when we're feeling all tossed up. Yeah, like I said before, it's one of those things like, hopefully your friends and family notice that you're acting different, you know, and hopefully you're not the type that's always crying wolf, you know, because that's the one that gets dangerous. I think that's what happens in a lot of cases. Someone will say, you know, I feel like shit, I feel like committing suicide, or I don't belong here, I shouldn't exist, or no one loves me, all these types of things. I think a lot of times people will come to your rescue, you know, and which is the right thing to do. But the problem is, if you do that same thing over and over again, eventually even those people that love you are going to be like, they're doing this shit again. And they might not respond right away, and they might not, you know, really give a shit, because they're tired of you doing this broken record thing, and they really don't believe you. And then that one time when you don't get any responses and no one comes to your aid when you're crying out for help, you go, fuck, people really don't give a shit. Kind of because you pushed them away, you kind of knew you would, because that's kind of what you wanted. But then when that happens, it is devastating, you know, and that's when you might attempt to take your life. So yeah, that's the thing about the mind. It's very dangerous, you know. It's important to know yourself well enough to know when you start going down that path and what to do. And so that's where I'm at right now, is what I want to tell you guys. If you've gone up and down this roller coaster enough, if you've ridden those waves in and out enough, you know the process, right? So you shouldn't fucking know by now the signs when it's coming on, or why. You know, if you're feeling low because of the season, or because of your love life, or because of your, you know, job opportunities or lack thereof, or whatever it is that sets you off, right? And it's coming on, you feel it, you know, you start, because you wear it, you know, most of us really, really wear it. So what should you do in those moments? I would say, number one is understand and take account of how many friends you have. You have a lot. Even if you do the associate type friends, like the Facebook friends, you know, you may have a few hundred, but at least there's a few hundred people that took the time to say, yeah, I'd be friends with you, sure. That does mean something, as much as I can downplay like Facebook, but that does mean something, that those people give a shit enough to say, yeah, I'd be friends with you. That matters, on a human level. And then from there on, you have closer people. You for sure have people that gave you life. No matter what that story is, there's still love there. And then the surrounding people around that, the people you surround yourself with, so friends and family. There's definitely people that love you. So I'd say just make sure you acknowledge that. That's huge. The second thing I would say is accountability. Whether that's if you have kids, or like I said, just mother, father, sister, brother, aunts, uncles, cousins, whoever, and then of course a job, and those types of things. Those are accountabilities. So those types of things keep you in check because people are counting on you. You're part of the system. You're part of a group. You're part of a thing. People need you. And moreover, it's one of those things of like, when you think that you're saving other people from you, when you decide to take your life, or you think that you're going to, like, oh, they'd be much better off without me. These beautiful people don't need my ugly, I know what that feels like. And that thinking is, well, selfish, really. Because you're really not saving people from you. What you're really doing is you're taking more beauty from the world, and you're actually causing more of the pain that you have inside of you, the pain that's causing you to commit this suicide. You're now passing it on to all the people that loved you tenfold. So what kind of an asshole are you? It's a truly selfish behavior. I never really understood it till I thought about it more and more. It doesn't change the fact that I don't like myself, but it does change the fact that I would hate myself more if I were to cause pain in the people that love me. And to think that they might, somehow feel the same way because of my actions of being so fucking selfish. It's just wrong. It is. It's simply that. It's just wrong. And so with that, you understand, and my next thing to think about is trust. When all those people care about you, and all the people that you would hurt if you were to leave, you're also breaking that bond, that trust bond, And I don't think there's a greater bond to break than that one. Because when we tell each other we love each other, on many levels of love, right? Whether, it doesn't matter if it's your mate, your child, your friend, love. You can't break that one, and committing suicide and hurting them is that's kind of the worst kind of hurt you could probably cause someone. Because the more I thought about it, they would probably feel like, oh, so I wasn't enough to keep you around. You ever thought about that? Like the other people would feel so shitty, like, man, I wasn't enough for them? Well, then I may not be enough to be here. What's the point of me being here? You ever thought about that? I did, and it kind of, made me think how much of a selfish prick I was being. So, on to the next thing I would say is your interests, and what I was kind of hitting on earlier. Is there something that you've always wanted to do? Go do it. Go start doing it. I'm looking right over there. There's the drum set. Now, do I know how to play drums? No. I don't have a fucking clue. But I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to pretty much self-teach myself. If I can just kind of hold a beat by the end of the year, I'll consider that a little bit of a success, especially if it depends on how much time I've spent on it, because I haven't done anything yet. I just barely have set it up, and I'm not even sure if I have it set up. I know I don't have it set up correctly. It's close. But anyhow, I need a new chair before I can even play, because it's not the right height. Anyway, long story short, yeah, it's just something just for me to fuck around on, and also for the kids too, if they feel like coming down here and making noise, or if any of my guests that come on the podcast, they feel like banging on the drums. If the kids aren't asleep, they can go ahead and give her a rip. I don't give a fuck. Have fun. Anyway, so yeah, that's that kind of stuff. You know, it's not that I always wanted to play drums or something like that, but I have always wanted to be in a band. I thought that would always be a cool thing. I probably never will, but the point is that it's just something that, well, if you have an interest, go for it. For me, my biggest thing is motocross. I love it, and I was talking about it to the wife earlier even. It was just, and I even said on the podcast before, it's just a really cool feeling to be decent at something you love to do. You know, I wouldn't say I'm really good or this or that or whatever I am. Just, I can ride. And it's just fun, you know, fun to be good enough, you know, and to have fun when you're doing it. But yeah, the funny thing is I rode last Saturday. God, man, I was sore for like 4 days afterwards. It was insane. So that's something like, for me, motocross. So even though it's a very personal thing, it's also, I still have to go out and be in a social environment and be around other people and talk to people and so on and so forth. So that's something that I suggest for you as well, is to be in a social environment. You know, once a day wouldn't hurt, but I mean, if you can't do that once a week, then at least I'm not talking like going out and getting groceries and shit like that. I mean like a real social environment where you have to actually talk to people. But that could be one of those things, like if you get into, whether it be art or whatever, even if it's a social group. Because someone that did hit me up, talked about these different groups that they're in and starting and these different things, and I don't know, it's they have so much to say and so much going on. It's like I feel like they need their own podcast. I really do. It's yeah, because I believe this person, if you're listening or watching, you have a lot to offer and say, and the things you've been through, and you know, even your political opinions and so on and so forth. There's a lot there, and you know, I think there's a voice for everybody, and I think you're wanting to give that voice out. And I don't really think that my medium is going to be built for you, but I do think that you know, people should hear what you have to say for sure. Yeah, I think that's pretty freaking cool. I think because I've read a lot of your stuff, and it's just like, jeez. Yeah. So anyway, on that subject, so wow, I'm all looking around my room. You know, one thing, another thing I was going to say too is to try to make peace with your demons. I mean, I've made peace with most of mine. I would say, you know, like I've said with a lot of things, it's, you know, owning what you can as far as if you were part of any of those situations. But either way, just try to find peace with those things that happen to you. And then also find peace with the things that you did to yourself afterwards, if you were that type. And I think there's a few other things about people that don't want to admit that are suicidal is I think you really want to be loved. I think you really want to be noticed. And it's one of those things, like a lot of people act like they don't. Like, oh no, it's not it. That's really what it is. And I think for some of us that are damaged, it's hard to understand why others love us now, because I guess because of what happened early on, or the things that happened to us, because of the way that certain people may have treated us. And that may not be the case for everybody, but I'm just speaking because that's what I know. And then when people down the road love you, you kind of question it. Like, first of all, like, yeah, right. And then once you start to fall into loving them, you feel like, fuck, when are they going to fuck me over? And then it's like, after that, they stick around for a while, and you're like, oh, they're just secretly fucking me over, and I just don't know it. Because you always have these demons. You have all these thoughts that people can't just be good and love you for who you are. Because or for me, I've always had this feeling of like, they're doing something. I just don't know what it is. The ulterior motive type shit. And then when you realize they really do love you, you're like, why? I don't like me. What the fuck are you doing liking me? So yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, and for the quote unquote normal people, it's really hard for them to understand that, and it's hard for me to try to tell you how to understand it. I can only tell you that's what it is. It's difficult for us to, because that's the thing too. It's weird. It's like what we work for. We want people to love us. We want people to acknowledge us, and we want to be accepted, and we want all these things. Or I did, quote unquote, kind of in a way wanted to be popular because I wasn't, and all this different shit. And then once you start feeling that type of stuff, or I did anyway, it was like, whoa, back up, and like, either I'm fooling them, or they're fooling me, because it doesn't feel right. So it's very hard to accept. And it's easier to go back to that, woe is me, and I'm just this or that, and some people fuck it up right away, and I used to fuck it up all the time. I don't anymore. I've learned to like, oh, well, okay. So even if they do hurt me at the end of the day, so be it. So be it. So what? You know what I mean? Let them own that, and if you feel like, I never want to be a victim again, and I never want well, then welcome to a bubble life. Welcome to never doing anything. Welcome to never having experiences, and like what I talked about in my favorite podcast that I made, number 16, and the message there was to make memories, to get out and do shit, to interact with people you love and want to be around, and to make sure that life is full of as many memories as possible before you exit this fucking planet. Because there's no guarantee for tomorrow. There never has been. And there may be tomorrow for everyone else on this planet, but maybe not you. So what the fuck did you do with your day-to-day? And what are you doing right now? All those types of things are really important questions to ask. And those are the type of things that will keep you away from depression, will keep you away from suicide, if you're answering the true life questions of like, what are you doing with yourself? What are you doing? Are you the best you? Do you like you? Work to be the better you. And the funny thing is, like I've said, I'm an oxymoron, and I know it. When I say I don't like myself, it's very strange, because I like the person I've become. Like in another podcast, I talked about, just having the power in all of us to become the person you want to be. If you want to learn certain things, then go learn them. You want to, whatever it is, try your fucking best at it. And hone and develop those skills, because then you'll know in yourself that you have value. You'll know in yourself that, yeah, I do have a purpose on this planet, and I should be here. And if you're, that unselfish, you can also take everything you've ever learned and pass it on to everyone that wants to learn it. Anyone that wants to learn something from you, you can give it to them. And I guess that's my point of doing this, is whatever little I know, I'm more than willing to share. I feel like I've gone through quite a bit of dark shit on my own, and whether I should or shouldn't have. I learned from it, and I'm here, and I'm glad I'm here. And it's weird for me to even say that. It makes me uncomfortable to say that I'm glad I'm here, but I am. And it's weird, you know. I never thought I would say something like that. But it's because of, you know, all the relationships I've made and all the people I can think about right now. I'm like, wow, I have a lot of cool people around me. And whether I deserve it or not, they're here. So that's that. Before I get too choked up and lose track, I did want to read another Ron Clausen poem, another poem from Mindy's dad, and I read it first because that last one I kind of threw him under the bus, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have read those before, and because it sounded like he was kind of like a jerk, and he wasn't. He was a great guy, so maybe it was just a weird poem. I don't know if any of you guys heard that, but if you did, you know, whatever. Anyhow, so without any further ado, I'm going to read a poem from Ron Clausen here. And it was kind of cool because it was the very next poem after that one about ladies. It wasn't so flattering. But this one is like interesting because it's the very next page. I didn't do this on purpose. But it has a lot to do with kind of the subject I've been talking about in a weird way. Okay, so here we go with another poem by Ron Clausen. And the title is O2 Low. So like oxygen, I think, is what he's trying to say. And it's dash H2 high. Hydrogen, I assume. And then he has a bunch of water lines here. So I'll start the poem. I had held that last breath, just hung in the twixt life and death. Perhaps I'll skip my trial and float down another mile. Those perils writhe heaven bent, breathy pearls of life I lent, as real pearls torn out by knife. Hey, friend, can you spare a life? He doesn't have this one dated, but it is signed by Alan Ron Clausen. And hopefully I wasn't getting too distracted there by another spider crawling on my desk. Actually, it's on the back side of this picture. Sorry, Buddha. Got rid of another spider. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that, but when I studied Buddhism for a minute there, when they believe in reincarnation, so I could have just killed the soul, and how dare I. But it's a spider, and I have this huge spider bite on my leg that I've had for a few weeks. I figured maybe I'd get my revenge, you know. Just kidding. It was just, yeah. I didn't really mean all that. I was just fucking around. Anyhow, yeah. So, as I turn on my shit, this is like old school. I'm like hopefully not wasting time, but there is a song I wanted to play on the out. And so, here's something. I guess I don't have something. What was I going to say? I lost it because I was fucking around. Anyway, oh yeah, so with that guest, I will let you guys know when that happens. It should be soon. I told her, hey, whenever you're ready, let me know and I'll make time. Like I said, I usually record at night, but if she wants to record during the day or has a certain day, I'm good. We'll make it happen. I'm just excited to finally have her on and get that interview that I wanted the first time. But maybe it's a blessing because I feel like I might be a little better at this interview stuff and learn how to shut the fuck up and listen. Like I've always given others advice when they're talking to someone that has mental health issues. So like I always say, you know, on that, you can hit up my hotline, 541-241-8866, to talk about your mental depression, suicide thoughts. Not too much. Like I said, you know, you need professional help if you're truly feeling suicidal. But you know, if you need a friend to talk to, I'll definitely lend that ear. And And also if you have, advice for the show, topics, whatever, or just something you maybe want me to say on this subject or any others, once again, it's 541-241-8866. And once again, this is Chet with BCNDC, and all right, until next time, love you all.
Ha